Hurricane Ian, the fifth strongest hurricane to ever make landfall in the United States. From its humble beginnings to its catastrophic impact, this storm changed Florida forever and will go down in history as the costliest storm to ever strike the state. September 14th through the 15th. Quick disclaimer for the sake of this video, all times mentioned will be in Eastern Standard Time. Ian's origins are like most other hurricanes and tropical storms in the Atlantic Basin. It was a tropical wave off the west coast of Africa that produced many downpours and strong thunderstorms. In the coming days, this wave will keep moving west, passing just south of the Cape Verde Islands, not showing many signs of organization, but having the occasional burst of convection. September 22nd through the 23rd. The not yet named storm on a west-northwestward path was beginning to show increased signs of organization. But inhibiting its ability to form was the upper-level outflow from the dying Hurricane Fiona. This kept Ian from developing into a tropical depression for just this day. Still, through this wind shear on September 23rd at 2 in the morning, a well-defined circulation was able to form within the tropical disturbance. Following the formation of this circulation, convection increased and became persistent throughout the day, resulting in the storm being named Tropical Depression 9. But that name was short-lived because at 8 p.m., wind speed had increased to 40 miles per hour, at which point it became Tropical Storm Ian. September 25th through the 27th. The 24th of September was quiet because of vertical wind shear that hindered development, but you could say that this was literally the calm before the storm. On September 25th at about 2 p.m., Tropical Storm Ian began to rapidly intensify, and 12 hours later at 2 a.m., September 26th, Tropical Storm Ian was no more. It was now Hurricane Ian. This rapid intensification was fueled by waters of 30 degrees Celsius or more. This is 86 degrees Fahrenheit or more for my American friends out there. This rapid intensification continued into the morning of September 27th when it intensified into a major hurricane at 2 a.m. With the southwestern portion of Cuba in its direct path, it made landfall at about 4:30 a.m. as a Category 3 major hurricane with sustained wind speeds of 125 miles per hour. Ian weakened only slightly while passing over Cuba, and the center of the hurricane emerged over the southeastern Gulf of Mexico at around 10 a.m. This storm had not yet reached its full potential, and the warm waters and atmospheric conditions were just right for additional strengthening before setting its sights on Florida. Soon after entering the Gulf, though, Ian began an eye wall replacement cycle, meaning the eye was growing, which resulted in a larger radius of maximum winds. This is what sets apart Hurricane Ian from Hurricane Charlie, which took an almost identical path in 2004, but was smaller in size and much quicker. These storms were compared many times throughout Ian's life because of how eerily similar they were. Although the paths of the storms were so similar, the outcomes could not be more different. September 28th, the day of landfall. Ian intensified the morning of September 28th, reaching its maximum intensity in its lifespan at 160 miles per hour, a monstrous Category 5 ready to bear down on communities across the state of Florida. Around this same time, NOAA had a weather drone measuring wind gusts of up to 216 miles per hour. Fortunately, these are not ground level readings and are high up in the atmosphere, but to put this into perspective, a 216 mile per hour wind gust would be considered an EF5 tornado. Despite this, Atmospheric conditions became less favorable to the hurricane, and Ian began to slightly weaken over the next several hours before it made landfall. The hurricane made landfall as a Category 4 with sustained wind speeds of 150 miles per hour on the barrier island of Cayo Costa at around 3:05 p.m. Just an hour and a half later, Ian made another landfall near Punta Gorda with wind speeds estimated around 145 miles per hour. Also in Punta Gorda was the Weather Channel's Jim Cantori, where he was bearing the full force of the Category 4 Ian, including some close calls. The storm wreaked havoc on the coast, which had not seen something of this scale since Hurricane Charlie in 2004. And that storm was quick, but Ian was a slow-moving monster, and these slow-moving hurricanes caused something even more dangerous than the winds and the rain: storm surge. Believe it or not, but water rivals some of the most powerful forces on Earth when it comes to constant wind and rain, causing even more flooding. It is said that 6 inches of water will reach the bottom of most passenger vehicles, causing loss of control and possible stalling. At a foot, most cars will be floating, and just 2 feet of water will pick up almost any car, including SUVs and trucks, and carry them away. This transitions us into a survival story straight out of a Hollywood movie. With Ian's constant battering wind and slow movement, we saw some of the worst storm surge of all time. Ian had a record-breaking 14 feet of storm surge, and you will not believe what this can do. Keep an eye on this house right here. In that house, a couple, their 2 dogs, and one incredible story that is hard to forget. I'm going to show some clips from an interview they did about 2 weeks after the storm. Thank you to Max Olson Chasing for these videos. The video I'm using will be linked below along with his channel. Please go check him out, he's got great stuff.
I've never been in Florida for an actual hurricane. I've been here for a couple tropical storms and some serious like thunderstorms and stuff. Like before the storm, it was supposed to go up and over us, you know, like towards Tampa and just miss us.
During Irma, I was in Port St. Lucie, so it kind of went right over us, or around us, really. And so I was like, you know, it's gonna be fine.
I knew the water would come up because this storm surge, you hear about it all the time, you know, but you don't know. Our house is already like 7, 8 feet off the ground. And I'm like, there's no way in hell it's gonna come from all the way down there where the beach is, 8 feet up into my house. There's no possible way, you know?
That day, I got really nervous. A little late, I guess.
She woke me up around 10 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock, and she was like, we gotta go. And I was like, she said she's seen the water coming through the street a little bit. Like, it wasn't even up above the curb yet. That's why you see me move the car across the street, because that was, in my head at the time, that was like safe zone, you know? It's not gonna get up from all the way down the beach, all the way up across the street. If I leave it here, the tires might get wet or something like that, you know? I didn't think, like, that would be the least of my worries, you know? Once the front door blew in, the glass in my front door blew open, I was like, uh-oh, we better get... I didn't know what to do. We were gonna go upstairs in the attic. I was just watching the water go from this much to this much to this, and that happened. It went from my ankles to my knees probably in like maybe like half an hour, and I see my neighbor's house floating right towards me. I thought when his house bumps into my house, it's gonna take the whole house out, and I was like, we gotta go, we gotta get ready. She already had a life jacket on because she put that on earlier like as a joke.
But the life jacket, it had the pins on it, so I ended up tying them up with my bag. I put a tote bag, a Chewy tote bag, with all of our essentials, like our licenses and some random money, like credit cards, and then our phones.
She tied the dogs to her because my roommate had a wakeboard. You know the long rope that you hold on the wakeboard? She cut the wakeboard off with she had a pocket knife. She cut the wakeboard rope off, tied it to one dog's collar and the other dog's collar, and then put it through her life jacket. And she went out the window, because now I can feel the house is lifting up and slamming. You know, it's not even connected anymore. It's like boom, boom. And then I remember the last message I sent to my mom was, there's water in the house, the windows are breaking. And I said, I don't think we're gonna make it.
The second I jumped in, I got pulled under. So pretty much, if I didn't have that life jacket, I buoyed, you know. And then my dogs are literally on top of me, like while they're panting, they're like inhaling water and everything. And then it's like I'm holding here with my leg in the window, holding on because he's still in there.
Pulled the window out, but then it went back underwater, and I got pushed back up into the ceiling, and I had to dive under the water and find that window and swim out of the window and come back up. Now I'm in front of the house that's going this way, pushing me across the street. And I gotta find her, and I'm screaming. I never screamed so much in my life.
I had the dogs. I don't even know. We were all just floating. There was no swimming. We were just floating with the house. I guess we crossed the canal.
And we just had no control over it. It's not like we swam to a perfect spot. We just got pushed. And she just grabbed onto the first tree, and there was a telephone pole in the water that I grabbed onto. But once I grabbed onto it, I looked at my arm was just bleeding, and I had no more energy to swim. My arms were tired, and I just let go, you know, and I just gave up. I was like, this is the way I'm gonna go. I didn't even have any energy. I don't know how I grabbed up, and I pulled myself up onto their back porch, and they had a door that didn't have glass on it, but the 2 glass windows on the side of the door. And I just picked up like a 4x4 that was floating in the water, and I just broke the side window and opened it, and I was like, hello, help, help, and there was nobody in there. Even in that house though, which was all the way on the other side of the canal, like if you look at a map of where we floated to, it was on the other side of the little canal. Even in that house, the water was still up to my knees when I got in there. And I just laid on the kitchen counter because everything else was underwater. I laid on the kitchen counter, and I was like, man, my girl's still out there, my dogs are still out there. I don't know where, because you can't even see like 5 feet in front of you when you look out into that hurricane. And I'm like, man, there's no way. I'm 6'5", and I'm 225 pounds. If I had trouble making it, there's no way that they made it. For 3.5 hours, I was like, just in that house, just thinking like, damn, man. I was just coming to terms with the fact that I lost my girl and I lost my dog. That was the worst thing I ever felt in my life. But then 3 hours later, it became the most amazing miracle I ever seen float by like that. And I had no problem. I didn't care if there was glass or wood with nails. I didn't care what was in the water. I had to jump back in and pull them into that house. I don't care if I choke one of them. They're coming in the house with me. I've been waiting 3.5 hours. Like, I can't even. I don't like thinking about it. And I can't believe that neither one of the dogs were limping or anything. They were in the tree with her like this for like 3.5, 4 hours. They had some scratches on them like everybody. She had so many bruises on her that her legs, she looked like she got beat with like a baseball bat, you know? As soon as they rescued us, they were like, thank God you guys alive. And they were like, your house is famous. And I was like, house is famous? How? They were like, it's all over YouTube. It's all over. And I was like, let me see this video. I didn't want to see it at first until we got all the way, after I got out of the hospital and stuff and I got stitched up. But we was just watching the video at first, and like, how the hell did they get that camera up there? Where's that camera been? What is that camera pointed at my house for? But then I was like, I could only watch, at first, the first time I watched the video, I could only make it halfway through the video. Until I see the house stop moving, I couldn't watch it more. Because you watch the video, whatever level of water you see on the outside of the house, it's the same level of water inside the house. It's not floating like a boat like everybody thinks. If it's up to the roof in the outside, it's up to the roof in the inside. So when it's like all you see is the roof, I'm up against the ceiling. I was getting hit in the back with the dresser and everything, you know? No, I want people to see that video. I want everybody to know, like, that's what happens. Like, you can't stop the force of the water. And a storm surge, we're lucky to be alive. And I think about it every day. Like, if I would have just went 6 inches to the left or 6 inches to the right, we wouldn't be alive. We're lucky. But there's a lot of people, there's still hundreds of people that didn't get lucky, you know? People that didn't make it out, people that got crushed by the house because they weren't expecting that to happen. I want everybody to see that. Every single time there's a hurricane, even a Category 1 hurricane, if there's a little slight chance of a storm surge, show that video, because it'll happen, especially if you live on the beach. It's not if it'll happen, it's when it'll happen.
What an incredible story of survival. But these people lost everything except for their lives. They had a GoFundMe created soon after, and 8 months later, it has still not reached the goal of $10,000. At the moment of this recording, it's about $1,500 away, and it would be amazing if we could finish that goal, because after what they went through, anything would help. Please, if you are in the financial position to give anything, I will have the GoFundMe link below. Unfortunately, Ian was not over just yet, but the worst had passed. Ian kept on a northeast path, continuing over central Florida and eventually over the eastern coastline throughout the rest of the day and night, weakening every step of the way. Just as Ian was crossing back over into the Atlantic waters, it was downgraded to a tropical storm at 8 a.m. on September 29th, with maximum sustained winds of 70 miles per hour. Once in the Atlantic, Ian re-strengthened to a Category 1 hurricane with maximum sustained wind speeds of 80 miles per hour, and it set its sights on South Carolina for its final landfall. Hurricane Ian made its final landfall at 2:05 p.m. on September 30th near Georgetown, South Carolina, as a weak Category 1, and from there it quickly dissipated, and by 8 a.m. on October 1st, radar and satellite imagery indicated that Ian had dissipated completely. Hurricane Ian was the costliest storm to ever hit Florida, causing $109 billion worth of damage. It was also responsible for 156 deaths, 66 of which were believed to be directly caused by the storm. This storm showed us just how powerful storm surge can be and gives us direct evidence to confidently say that that is the most dangerous aspect of a hurricane. Some places saw 14 feet or more of storm surge, but luckily these levels were mostly forecasted and mandatory evacuations were ordered, likely saving very many lives. We remember the not so fortunate and hope everybody is back on their feet. This storm will go down in history, and many, many lives were impacted. The best advice I can give to you about a hurricane like this is it's not if it will happen again, but it's when it will happen again, and we must be prepared. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. I put a lot of time and effort into this, and it would be very much appreciated. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Chevy, signing off.